I'm going to look at fitting some new speakers into my 1989 Mercedes 300 SL. The standard installation has two speakers, one on the driver's side behind this cover and one on the passenger side over there. This car is now 30 years old, still running on the original speakers, and the sound quality isn't very good. So I'm going to look at replacing them with these Alpine speakers. I'm going to start with the driver's side first. My first job is to remove this cover, which is held on by two small screws there, and the cover should drop off and I'll be able to access the speaker behind it. I've removed the two screws from the cover, so now the cover should just pull off. It pulls off from the bottom and then down from the top. There's a couple of small clips in the back there which latch underneath this clip along here. So here is the original speaker. You can see there's some damage to the speaker here where it's been out. The cover's obviously been off before and has damaged the cover. So to remove the actual speaker now, I have to remove these two screws which hold the cover in. So we'll undo those two and then the speaker should pop out. The foam is actually so old and damaged on these speakers that as soon as I pretty much touch the foam, you can see it just falls apart. So take the speaker out. Just pull it out from the bottom and it lifts out. There we can see the connector on the back, so I'm going to try and remove that connector so that I can fit it to the new speaker. The new speaker side by side with the old speaker. You can see the frame size is the same on the front, looks pretty much identical, so there's going to be no issues with the mounting holes. But if we look on the rear side of the speaker, you'll see that the new one, the magnet is slightly larger on it. Obviously I'll have to move the electrical connectors across. So if we look at fitting this into the car, we'll see that it will, try and move that to a better position, it will fit in at the top, just about, but behind here there is a section of metal here which looks like it might actually be fouling on the magnet. So I'm just going to relieve that slightly just to give a little bit more clearance. I'm just going to open that up. So I shall probably do that with a Dremel just to remove a little bit of the material from there. I've relieved the metal around the top of the hole slightly now. I've cut the wires off from the back of the old speaker and attached them to the new one. So there's a good decent solder joint on there. So I'm now going to fit this into here. So I'll fit this into the hole. So I'm going to push it in at the top. Now because the magnet is much bigger on this, it's not possible to put it in from the bottom and then tilt it in, because I'd have to relieve a lot more material at the top and I don't really want to take much material off. So I'm going to try and put it in and then just lever this section down slightly to make it fit. Push the speaker into place now, so it's now nice and firm against here. So I'm going to put the top clip back on, then refit the front cover. In fact, before I do that, I'll just test it to make sure it's working. Then I'll refit the clip across the top and fit the cover. Okay, I've got this fixing bar in place across the top, so the speaker's now held in. Now I've got to put its cover on. So it's got these two clips on the back which need to go up behind there, so you've got to be very careful to make sure they both go into place and that they don't foul onto the speaker foam. So to do that, I'm going to try to get in behind here with a screwdriver to get this far clip in first, and then this clip, and then try and fit it in place. I have read online about using a credit card down the back of there to help fit it into place, so I might try that if I can't do it with a screwdriver. Now back on. See in there, so that's this side finished. Now going to move on to the other side. It's a lot easier to get in on this side with the camera, so hopefully I can show you a bit more about what's involved. So we'll just take the two screws out at the bottom. So these are just going into some small metal clips, so they're not tight, they come out very easily. And with those two removed, just ease the bottom off and slide it down. So again, you can see the two clips on there. Remove the cover across the top. speaker out, we can just lift it up and out from the bottom. Lucky, just give it a bit of assistance with the screwdriver. Not worried about damaging the speaker obviously, because it's coming out anyway. So there it is, and then we can get the connector behind and do the connector. So there's the speaker out with the connector. This one's not soldered, it's actually got clips on here, so I'll just be able to pull these off here and pull them onto the new speaker. So just see, pull those two off there, and then on the new speaker, you can see on there it's got two different size connectors, so you can just push those straight on. And I have to check to see whether it'll have clearance on there, so I'll just try to get the electrical connector for the speaker, just falling down the back. I've done a trial fit of the speaker and it won't go in because it's fouling on this little bit of plastic up here, so I'm just going to relieve that slightly to enable the speaker to fit. With the piece of plastic relieved at the back, the speaker's now ready for refitting. So I need to just push it into place and then lift it up so that the bracket can be refitted with the screws. So the screw holes on this are quite close to the top. So let's see if we can get the first one in. That's the first one going in. So that's the bracket refitted, and then the same as on the other side for this. So I've got to make sure that the clips are engaging, which I'll try. I can see that the one on the far side is engaged. Make sure this one's engaged as well. Okay, so that's the cover back in place, and there are just the two small screws to finish it off. Okay, so there we go. It's the two Alpine speakers fitted in place of the original Mercedes ones. So we should have some slightly better quality sound from the system now. It certainly sounds a lot better than it did before. I'm using this aftermarket Kenwood head unit. I mean, obviously there's still no bass. It's got a pair of 10cm speakers, so not going to get any bass, but it doesn't have the kind of distortion it had before, particularly at the higher sound levels. It's coping much better with the levels that are able to be produced by this head unit. So given that it's probably taken me about an hour in total to do it, the speaker's not very expensive, I would consider this a very worthwhile upgrade